Hello everyone, and thanks for joining the evidence review part 2 for the paperwork that was recovered from the family homestead in Cornudas. So again, these what do you call it? Excuse me, I was distracted. This is just us going through what we recovered. And my daughter wanted me to let everybody know that there's a bunch of these, I guess it's random sports cards from like maybe late 70s, early 80s. There's like, I don't want these, we don't want them, but she's going to be putting them up on her Let Go page. And she's doing a small fund. So if you're interested in those, I guess I've been nominated to post a link to that. Oops. So yeah, and also this original Atari game cover, and there's games in it too. So all original Atari. I don't know. So they'll be listed. It's her thing, so you'll have to contact her, but I'll help her out with the link. Okay, so this time I've been able to gather together some paperwork, some more handwriting samples, but we're going to go through vehicles primarily today. And from what I can see so far, there is 3 vehicles that we can verify were taken, and the ranch trailer, the 16-foot ranch trailer. Oops, sorry. And also the dealership for where we believe this 5th wheel was purchased. I was informed it was purchased with my dad's life insurance policy. So we're going to kind of go over some insurances, vehicle insurance. We're going to start getting into that kind of stuff, like where was the, who and what was insured, and then found some pill bottles with my father and this woman here with an address in Arizona. So now investigators, victims of crime, caretakers, pay attention. Remember, we're looking at the pattern of what we call witnesses in this research. When we talk about criminal signature and method of operation, they have multiple aliases, and you'll start to see that a common person who maybe works for a job maybe $40,000-$80,000 a year all of a sudden starts to have houses all over the country. So far we have 2 for her. We have 2 in Salt Flat, Texas, 1 in Oklahoma, which is on her driver's license. Here's an Arizona one on her Springfield, Missouri address. Okay, so you'll start to see a pattern of like these people are hop all over, but there's a pattern that follows them, which is these properties, these caretaking positions, these medical contracting companies. Okay, so you want to start paying attention, and if you're again looking at it as a cold case, this is a signature you want to look for, and then you start cross-referencing their income. Start cross-referencing their income, and what did they do there? Did they register to vote? You know, you start going through property records, and there's a definite signature. So, but again, this goes in the box of to be categorized later. And then we have basically, my mother and father were meticulous bookkeepers. Okay, so you have, this is my mom's writing, so we begin to see all the approved people or people who have worked on that ranch for one reason or another. So I've been trying to keep some of these original receipts, because we all know how important those can be. The minute you throw them away, you hate yourself. Okay, so all right, so here we go. Vehicle registration renewal. Okay, now this is for a Volkswagen, a 2008 Volkswagen 4-door. Okay, I believe this is the VW Jetta, right? And I believe this is the payment for it. But here's what's strange. One, this is not my father's writing. Two, my mother and father, if you even pull records, will show that they have not financed a car since maybe 2000, maybe earlier, when my father retired, because they owned multiple vehicles and everything was paid for. I mean, everything was paid for. Vehicles were paid for. There was everything. My father was very meticulous about never financing anything. He didn't like credit of any kind like that. He had a credit card for normal expenses, and we'll get into that because there's strange activity on it, but we're not there yet. And so my father never took out a payment. Okay, so I was led to believe that this was paid in full, and this is one of the things that this VW Jetta has been a long-standing big question that they were refusing. There was records, something was going on, so now we know what was going on with me remotely interfering with my power of attorney and doing what my dad asked me to. There's these people running interference. They're floating false power of attorney paperwork. I'm trying to get records. They're saying I'm not the power of attorney, and I'm going, of course I am. And the whole time you don't know this is going on down here, but you know something is beginning to go astray. So these are signs that you want to look for. And by the way, I'm having to do this for my own family now, but this is all of that you're seeing, this paperwork disruption. It's common, and these particular cases, it becomes a huge category, which is why I need to put this all in chronological order and develop an evidence file, but we have to categorize it first. So again, we have names that we need to look up, who these people are. Background searches are needed. Again, another writing sample from my father. Look at very, very meticulous handwriting. Here's another one. My father's writing. Look how nice and neat that is. I can't even write that well because my handwriting gets sloppy sometimes. But if you look, this is a list of all my half-brothers and sisters, my natural brother, myself, and Allura. He never got to meet Hunter because of what they did. It was very sad for the family. He never got to meet his grandson. And he passed away before Allura, who remembered him, got to say goodbye. So this is a real tough spot, but can you see my parents? They always donated to all these agencies, and they would always send them these notepads, and they used them. They definitely used them. Oh my goodness. So here we have we have Rio Grande Electric, right? They knew where he was, and you can see my dad always wrote very meticulously on every bill. I get it from somewhere. We're not OCD, we're just meticulous. Because times like this matters. I think these are the same. Okay, so that's a copy. Is it a copy? Yes, okay. So this is October 24th, 2014. So there was all kinds of records releases going through, but that's not my dad's signature. It's not, see, and you can't even make it out. They don't know if they want to do 1S, 2S, and you can just see they don't know what to do. See, so when you look at the print and the bills that they were doing, remember? So now they basically, this is where they trip themselves up. Because when the mail comes in, it's printed from a verifiable company, but that can come back on them, right? So now what you have is, well, how were you signing it, right? And you can clearly see, is it one or is it two S's? O-N, they don't know. And then there's a dot there, which is every time somebody's forging, they get nervous, and sometimes just out of like a tick habit, they accidentally put a dot where there should be um, no dot, because here's the I way back here. Okay, so a person who's signed their name over the years always has the habit of coming back and dotting the I, not over what looks like the attempt to connect an O and an N. Okay, so that doesn't, and that does not cross-reference with what's on the banking records. Okay, and I'll put this to the side, and when we come back to that, I'll show you again. So it looks like this is the ARP insurance, right? And you can see this comes into the US Highway 62180, not the HC box. See? Okay, so this is January 14th, 2015 through, oh, that's the date. Okay. And then you can see right here, she's added herself onto the insurance as caregiver. There's her license number. Okay. So, gotta put this on the records of request. You know what, can I just say and take a moment how ridiculous it is I have to do this? So here it goes on to automatic withdrawal for car payment, insurance. And see, this is the other thing is 2014, all these Home Depot. So here we go. Here we start with the card activity, where you start to see, you know, an account's been opened. And remember, the house fell into disrepair, right? Okay, so the house went into disrepair. Then what is all of this, right? And who opened this? Right? And if the house fell into disrepair, then you should help them fix it, maybe. Or the building supplies were bought for someone else. Okay, so this apparently is, she uses the family mailing address, and then there's records for her at another address about, you drive about 3 miles towards Carlsbad, New Mexico, and her address pops up on a different road. So she's got 2 properties that she's acquired out there that I've hunted down so far. And apparently this is her and her husband. And allegedly he just passed away, and there's a fundraiser. So anybody sees them, please contact me. Also, here's a phone number I have to do a skip for. Somebody had posted a for sale sign. There's another number underneath. So somebody changed their number. Oh. It's from an Aristocrat Mobile Home Park in Oak Ridge, Oregon. Interesting. Let's skip. Okay, so here's, see what I'm saying? She's all over the place. Here this is Arkoma, Oklahoma. Her tax return. And this was, what year is this? 2016. Now, if you recall, they originally said, UMC Morgue said that my father's body had been picked up by a Heritage Funeral Home and left an Oklahoma number. And when we called, that's where we lost track of my father's remains, trying to get his license and all those things that you would get and prepare for his burial. And so what you have is, we called that, and they said that it was impossible because, lady, we're in Oklahoma. We don't pick up bodies in El Paso, Texas. Then it wouldn't be till I came back and speak to the Special Victims Unit investigator, who, by the way, was rude, disrespectful, arrogant, egotistical, insulting to my intelligence, and mansplaining, and literally laughed in my face when he said, well, little lady, when you say something like murder, that's a big word for a little lady like you. So, yeah. So I then said, well, you need to investigate when there's evidence. And I had gone in with an evidence file. And anybody who knows what the evidence file is on this knows that they should have investigated. So I was pretty much laughed out, escorted out. And then, there was all this other activity that we've already documented. And so it's just a mess. It's a big mess. Now, when we go back to handwriting, this is the what do you call it, the loan company for the VW, and you start to see that somebody's duplicating my dad's handwriting or attempting to do so. Yeah, that's disturbing. And then over here, we had ARP insurance. And then over here, there's Progressive, which I seem to remember my father being with for the longest time. Excuse me. What looks like she was getting, at the family address, she has middle initials too. Sometimes she so far has, and again, you guys, I'm going to be putting together an Excel sheet with all of this stuff, and then I'll put it out on the drive. But here's Tammy Mitchell. Here's Tammy S. I think she's Tammy Lee in another one. And so she has multiple aliases, and then they're all cross-mixed with multiple use, mixing it all up with addresses. Wow, okay. Yeah, see, so you have mail that verifies that, all these addresses that she has, and Tammy Sue Mitchell, Tammy S, Tammy Sue. See, here's another address for her. This is the other one I told you about. 199 West Rusty Cat Road in Salt Flats, 79847-5708. Here's a Mutual of Omaha. Now, we're going to put this to the side because when I looked at this, there's another paperwork that looks like she transferred a life insurance account. And if memory suits me correctly, I do believe that this is my father's Mutual of Omaha life insurance policy. And I need to check and see if that has been transferred from my dad's name to her name, or anyone in between. What's this? Well, okay, here we go. I'm not sure I can show that. That's a U.S. Department of Education account number. Well, I have it, but I'm not going to show that because it's a federal document. Out of respect for federal stuff. I don't want to be rude. Okay, so she has a child that attended Del City. That's a minor issue, can't show that. Okay, And then here we have principal insurance, excuse me, with a second Oklahoma address. So today, as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to make these phone calls. And then you can see here she transferred the phone service at my family home over to hers, but she's all over the place. So far we're at what, 6, 7 different residences? Okay, so this is 20 minutes long. We don't have to keep these too long. But there's more paperwork I have. Let me see, should I go through this? All right, we'll go a little longer. Okay, so that's VW. I want to call about the insurance. Oh, okay, we're on insurance. Look what I found. Here's Physicians Mutual Life Insurance. This is my mother's. See, my parents were very organized. This is still like, you can tell that the records were kept clean and well taken care of. This one was pulled out. This was in the safe. So here's how we run into this problem. Clearly that's going to be in a safe, right? And so the entire safe has been removed that had original deeds, family documents, family heirlooms, emergency cash, just everything. Everything in regards to my victims of crime, name change, everything. My father and mother had everything. Copies of my research, okay? And then in 2014, I have this practitioner interfere in my life, and then 2 twin landlords break in, steal all of my data, which is what when this started out, was me recreating this and documenting me recreating this research, and at a time when it came under fire, okay? So what you have is, well, what would happen if somebody got a hold of all of your safe deposit box, right? Wouldn't turn out good for you. And obviously all of that requires a warrant, right? Now, should it ever come out that we know who did that, that probably wouldn't be so good. So here you got a John. I'm going to assume that maybe is her husband. So here's a purchase from a company. I have to look into this because in cross-reference, I think they were using my father's credit card and money to buy their personal items. And I think it's all right in here, actually. I really do, from what I can see so far. But again, you're seeing it as I grab it. See? She's getting new U.S. Bank Visa debit cards. And I already showed you the one where there was Christine Miller who added herself onto the one bank account and the vehicle. So that's what she's on. Here's a UMC. This was my mother's file from 2003. I'm gonna have so much fun data entry, right? Let me tell you. Here's a letter they're writing to each other. It says, we came here and the door was locked again. We broke an appointment. Now you have to pay attention, okay, to the way they write. Okay, all of them write a certain way. Now, if you're doing security, right, like say in a prison, this could be beneficial to you when you start confiscating letters and trying to validate whether or not there is maybe inside outside communication that may lead to a problem inside, anything that could lead to unrest inside a prison environment. So this actually correlates with a cipher that was known to be used to create and incite violence in a prison by the KKK, which is in the crime study. So again, this is for forward thinking. I want to start closing this up and moving on to some other things than just the nuts and bolts of this. So it says we are changing appointments to be here, and we can't keep this up when we can't even accomplish anything when we get here. So even color matters, okay, when they communicate. So you start looking at letters that you see different colored ink, or you find that maybe they're writing partially in pencil. You want to look for these things, okay? And here's another writing sample. Here's my father's Blue Cross Blue Shield. Here's another one with him making notes about a $500 cash withdrawal. And here's 8/10/18. Now here's the thing, okay? This is for the telephone co-op. This is also where internet would have to go in. So, one, I'm very peeved that you got rid of the number that we've had since the time that number is so old, and I'm going to be getting that phone number back. Take note. And cross-reference with the bills that we're charging for internet. My dad didn't use the internet. My dad hasn't used the internet in years. So I'm thinking maybe she was slowly transitioning bills over into her name, and then this pretty much doubled my father's bill. So he doesn't use that stuff. This is my father's, what is this? Yeah, see, they started getting all of these. You start to see a lot of bank accounts being opened, a lot of credit accounts, a lot of Western Unions. It's all in here. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I was like, you know what? I need to document what I have and see where we're at with this. Oh yes, and I should be installing this today. Speaking of which, there's really a large amount of escalated activity in my house, and like my house is on high alert over the weekend, really hard while this cohabitant transfer takes place, because usually in cases like this there's a transference of roles, and so unfamiliar faces will start popping up, right? So investigators, as you're asking your victims as you're trying to recall and work with investigators, again, this is about playing to what is unseen. It plays to what most people pass off as just coincidence, okay? So in this little space right there is where they activate, where they're active, okay? And it's a hidden, remember, this is intricate, it's been fine-tuned over time, but and this is why I tell people, I have to warn people, because when you realize what is happening, it's stupid. We are all caught up in what I can see is a mental health crisis. The ideology that is behind some of what's afflicting cohesion, cooperation, and really looking at how infrastructure projects are being developed, who's behind them, what's driven inequality. Why is 97, 98% of the population so impoverished? Why are these places? And so this research was really about getting how far down into the root of dysfunction can we go, and looking for a common thread there, right? And so you'll start to see that keeping in line with a cold case, as we research who we are, these cases, aka us collectively as a society, if we all collectively conduct a cold case on it without ego, meaning this isn't personal, but do it as a mutual interest of, you know what, there's definitely something happening here. There's definitely a cultural based shift, there's a technology shift, and there's multiple shifts. When you see multiple shifts changing all at the same time, society, civil rights, technology, digital banking, cryptocurrency, civil rights, human rights, even nationalism, when everything comes to a head like that, you must pay attention, because that is the sign of a paradigm shift. And so this generation, this is the first time, this is 2,000 year mark. This won't happen again for 2,000 years. So when you look at it that way, through the proper perspective, the brevity of the situation and the absolute amazing opportunity. So when you talk about my optimism, it's like, yes, this is horrible. I'm not going to lie. Okay, I've shed my tears, right? But the thing is, this is an opportunity really for the United States to be able to, and set an example of how do we look at ourselves internally and kind of maybe stay in our own sandbox for a minute. And if everybody did that and kind of cleaned up house, because you can't govern people that are built with, the definition of apartheid, which is your foundation was in fact founded on something that was not healthy for everyone, okay? And that might have been fine, and none of us are responsible for what has been, but we can learn from the past. We can look and say, you know what? Look what's come to light, okay? And maybe not mull over this for 200 years, but, put our remembrances in a space, identify a definite cultural shift that took place, and let this kind of give a nice new curve in the education process of realizing what's really important and what we're educating our youth with. And if we can overcome this corruption, okay, with this, where AI is starting to really come into play, and artificial intelligence is going to be very huge with space exploration and automation. So we really need to prepare. I mean, we need to level up first before we can teach children. That's it. So it seems like all of the adults and leadership right now, we're all feeling that that push to evolve and step up into the role of our generation. But the beautiful thing about this is it's cross-referencing age brackets, leadership brackets, visionary brackets, different technology, different economic infrastructures and frameworks for new projects. And so you combine that with all of the work of existing organizations, and everybody, I find that when you can get this, this well-diverse thought pattern going in people, and to where they can think about things instead of singular. The future is certainly not a singular mindset. The future of the mindset is evolving into being very well diverse, right? And I think the mind itself thinks properly when it does take into account an alpha numerical, incorporating that sacred geometry aspect that breaks down language further. And I think there's a benefit to incorporating multiple religious backgrounds and multiple cultures. And so this work is pretty heavy with that, about what causes this grief, right? Because you can't just, analyze a war from the moment the bombs dropped. You got to that moment from somewhere. And then in the history books, as this generation has got it, is it's a very limited background, right? So a healthy analytical mind will go, but what got us there? And so, because war is dysfunction. War is dysfunction. And so to me, that's always been like the hypocrisy of leadership is to go, we apologize for war, but wouldn't it be so much easier to get up there and go, here's how we diverted war? That's the shift that needs to take place. Because I'm a firm believer, the fabric of the universe is fragile. If we take the violence of war that this generation has known it, the history of this planet collectively to this moment right now, and if we were all to just put a timeline marker, go, okay, here we're recognizing this paradigm shift, right? And here we really are going to set a 2,000 year bar, right? And this is going to evolve over time, but this is definitely going to flip perspective of what's really happening here, and how do we mentally, emotionally, aesthetically evolve to away from such petty things like this. Because, I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to fight for space the way we fought for land, the way people fight to illegally annex land? And then you have somebody sitting there going, well, I'll just drop this huge atom bomb off in space into a wormhole. I mean, so if you invite evil in and you allow it to evolve and it festers, you're wasting your money on the outcome, and that's how come preventive measures are failing. So you have to get way ahead of it. And one of it is what I hope to achieve with this work, which was breaking down an ideology. What is the thought pattern that's driving these decisions? And I think it took years and a lot of patience, okay? But I think we're at a point here that you can see that, how we manage our personal records with technology advancing, okay? We are still able to use paper to float crime, okay? So when you start thinking about the history of, coin and tender and forgery, there is a huge benefit to me deciding to want to, focus the echo zone on specifically digital currency. I think it has multiple benefits, and it's just wise. I mean, it's just wise. The first thing you need to get rid of is coin. One, you don't have to process all those minerals. I mean, it's just, look at all the I'm going to look into that. Maybe I'll do a paper on how much it's costing to develop coin and tinder, and what is the environmental impact of that. And then people can rethink digital currency maybe. All right. So, shocker. Chase identity protection, membership, blah, blah, blah. It's an alert. Shocker. What's sad about this is you think your family's safe, and you're not. You can't even go out and live on, this is horrible. My poor father. All he wanted to do was retire in peace. Credit score. Okay, you guys, I emotionally can't take any more of this today. Handwriting names of people. So far we have, and I guess I don't know where I put it, so I'm gonna have to look for it, but there is registration and information on the VW the VW Jetta, the van, a third car I can't think of, and a 16-foot trailer. We have the New Mexico RV trailer company that I believe is where the fifth wheel came from. We also have photographs of the Chevy Avalanche that allegedly She took the VW in and a couple of other vehicles in and traded it in for the Chevy Avalanche, which I'm looking to confiscate, along with the Geo Tracker. And the Geo Tracker, we know where that's at. The whole state's been pulled apart. Now, there's a few vehicles that weren't registered for some time on the property. Those are gone too, and those are in the wind. I have no idea. And concerning all the family photographs have been taken, there's nothing. And speaking of the family homestead, there is literally no wood shop left, no guest house left. And it's just, yeah, garage is totally gone. And I'm going to show you some videos, you guys, and don't think for a second I'm going to be embarrassed, because this house, once upon a time, was just a super cute, small family gathering place for my parents to retire and just to come back for the holidays. Yeah, so she definitely has multiple addresses, multiple credit accounts. And that's it, guys, for today. Oh, and my daughter wanted to see if anybody was interested in a buffalo nickel and wheat penny collection. So I guess that's all going to be on her her let go. But I guess, like I said, I'm volunteering to I am volunteering to post those. I will do it later. All right, guys, thanks for joining. I'll gather up some more stuff and we'll go over it.